Mm-hmm.
So, meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. I just want to check our Facebook to make sure
we are up and running.
that we are really live. Let's just see. Oh, that might be taking a hot minute. Can you see us, hear us, all that goodness?
Oh. It's happening.
Oh my gosh, we're live. Okay. I just want to see though if it will show Carrie. Carrie is here with us, friends. We can see her. We just don't know if you can see her. So, welcome everyone on Facebook. We're here. We've done it. We made it. And Carrie is here with us on Zoom. I'm hoping when she shares that it will flip to her. So
Do I need to go in?
See her.
Do I need to go in through Facebook?
You shouldn't need to. It's supposed to
Okay.
be streaming our Zoom call to Facebook, but
Okay.
let's make sure. Gallery view.
Yeah,
okay, so maybe
speaker
that.
view.
I don't know. Is that a thing?
I think so.
Let's see. Everybody just bear with us. You know, we're figuring it out here. Hi. She's right there. Yeah, you're good. Okay. I just want to be able to see. We're going to have to maybe just go with it and see what happens. Oh, Kathy says I see her. Awesome. Thank you,
good.
Kathy. This is great. Oh my God. I see her.
Oh,
Amazing.
wonderful.
When she talks, it changes to her. Thank you, Indy. Yeah. Okay. So, welcome everyone. This is Amber, my co-host. And then we have Carrie, who is joining us. And I'm calling you a caregetter because that's what you are, and you're amazing. So I wanted to really just quickly share the backstory of CAREbyChristie. There are some that are new, maybe have never heard how CAREbyChristie came to be. So I wanted to give a quick little recap on that. We do have our 12, we've changed it from tips to keys, the 12 keys to Caregiving Ease. That's right. Made that up just before we hopped on here. So I think what we're going to do is, after I give you a little bit of the background, pull a couple of these just to share. And then I want Carrie to just kind of give her experience going through the program that her and I went through together, and then sharing her story, kind of giving us the caregiver's perspective of things. And then we'll finish up with a couple more of these. Anybody that is tuning in live should comment on the live, because we will do a raffle at the end for a free strategy session. And I'll talk about what those are in a little bit. So
comment.
So comment, like,
share,
all the things. Start a watch party. Get wild out there, guys. Get wild. So 11/11 is super special to me. I love 11s. I love numbers. But last year on 11/11, do you know the whole story?
I don't.
Oh my God, everybody, buckle up, folks.
Yeah.
So on 11/11 last year, I had a referral from a networking group, and this gentleman lived in Geist, and my community that I was representing was in Zionsville, Whitestown. So geographically, we didn't even make any sense.
Not at all.
But he was like, go see Christy, like she'll just talk you through. So the short version is he walked in without a plan, very overwhelmed. His wife had just passed away, and he was kind of like, okay, send help. What do I do? So we didn't even tour the community. We just sat in the lobby, and we did it on a piece of notebook paper, and we created him a roadmap for elder care. So he wasn't necessarily ready to do something today, but he knew that when that time came, he no longer had his wife to plan with, and he's like, well, what am I supposed to do? So I gave him some resources, gave him some options, kind of let him know the paths that people before him had taken. And he left and he hugged me, which is always a win for me. And I drove home in silence all of the way home that night thinking, holy crap, this is why I'm here. This is my purpose. If I could just hear people's situations Oh, that was you. Sorry. I thought that was my phone. I got real aggressive. I was like, don't call. Sorry, I got scared there. So hearing people's situations and connecting them to the resources that make sense for them. Yes, that was my job as a salesperson, but I used to kind of joke that I was not the best salesperson, because if you came to me and your situation didn't make sense, I would say, go call Amber, or go call, get you to whoever made sense based on what you had just told me.
You were the best listener and the best problem solver.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's very kind. So that's my favorite thing to do, is listen and problem solve. And with the network and the web of resources that I have built up over the last 9-ish years, I feel really confident in connecting people to what makes sense for them. So that's how the whole idea came to be. Naming was a process. Getting a logo was a process. P.S. folks, these are things I have never done ever in my life. So to just be like, oh, I'm going to start this business, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to help people. But now how do we do that? So did all the things. CAREbyChristie. CARE actually stands for Creating a Roadmap for Elder Care. So for those of you that
Didn't know that.
Oh my gosh! It's my subtle little aha. And the 12 keys that we're going to share today, I'm not sure if you noticed, Carrie, on that flyer that I sent you, they spell out CAREbyChristie. I know.
You're good.
Subliminal messaging.
Just
it's all
Just
secret.
getting that CAREbyChristie in there where we can. So
I missed maybe you told me those initials the first day.
Okay.
You probably did. I didn't remember.
Be shocked again by it. Yes. Yeah. So that's what the CARE stands for. And the Creating a Roadmap for Elder Care component of it was really, initially, I thought, I just need to connect people to the resources that they just don't know exist. It's not that people wouldn't benefit from a home care company or benefit from having the hospice benefit. They don't even know they exist. So how do we connect people to the resources that make sense for them when they make the most sense? And then my favorite thing to do personally is my own personal development and growth. And I love that self-care. It's a little woo-woo to some, and that's okay. Carrie just bared right with me though. I was like, hey, I know this is weird. I know this is random. I
love woo-woo.
Yes, girl.
I was going to say, call it what you want.
I love it. It does help. And so that part of me is really drawn after seeing, I say over 4,400 families in my journey thus far that I've kind of walked alongside. And the missing link time and time and time again, I'm sure you see it all the time too, is that the caregiver is then experiencing burnout. They're overwhelmed, they're frustrated, they're burnt out because there is no space in their day-to-day lives for them.
Well, I think the relationship changes too. Instead of having quality time with a loved one, now it's about, my checklist of things I have to do today, and burden, I think, is a strong word, but
that's what it starts to feel like over time.
Kind of, yeah. If I don't get this done, then something bad happens, and so it becomes a checklist, and it becomes a chore, and then you lose that quality time with your loved one, and no one wants that.
Nobody wants that, and I think that the reason I'm so passionate about this is that I truly believe confidently that it doesn't have to be that way.
I agree.
And if folks just have the tools to compound them or infuse them into their life, that may set them up to succeed better at this.
Absolutely.
So that's how this all came to be. I've been working so hard this year. I have a podcast. Did you see, Carrie? I have 2 more episodes on there for you. Yes. Listen, they are not beautiful. They are not beautifully edited. They're like 6 and 8 minutes, but
they're out there.
They're out there, and I can build upon them. And Amber's going to co-host with me.
Woo-hoo.
That's right. So then we can
So big things are coming.
Big things are coming.
Yeah.
There is a YouTube channel, my Facebook page, of course, you're all tuning in here on Facebook, but a lot of free resources that are out there and a lot of exciting things coming up next year. So you want to pull a couple of these real quick?
I do.
Just grab them.
Okay.
Just grab them.
Our first one.
Oh, the private Facebook group, but it says Ignite Your Inner Care Getter. And that's what we're calling Carrie, because that's what she is. And caregiver is a word that's totally made up, but the reason I made it up is because I want the caregivers to get care for themselves, whether that be outside support and resources or creating space for themselves in their day-to-day lives, because they deserve it and they're worthy of getting care back. So that's where that one came from.
Plus, I think caregiver is very empowering.
Yeah, it is. Caregiver.
Seize the day.
Awesome. I'm gonna pull one more and then Carrie, you're up, girlfriend. The next one is creating space to meditate. So this is a fun little thing for us to share together because we were both practicing our own meditations and implementing that into our life. But Insight Timer is an app. It's called Insight Timer. And you can start with literally a 1 to 3 minute meditation, which doesn't sound very impactful, but let me tell you, if you do those every day, you will notice an incredible shift in your life. I heard somebody yesterday on a podcast say that it's like taking their brain to the gym.
Oh, that's a great way to phrase it.
I don't want to go to the gym,
No.
but I'd like to take my brain to the gym. That I'll do all day.
So I'm new to meditating. And this was something that we've had multiple conversations and phone calls and text messages about because I don't like silence. I fall asleep really easily. So that's how I had to start. It was just 60 seconds. And I did, I think 60 seconds, 5 days a week. I didn't hold myself to every single day.
Yeah.
And then I would go to 90 seconds and then I would go to 2 minutes, but it's a slow process.
It is a slow process. And I think that people's misconception is if I can't do it at silence or in a short period of time, I can't do it at all.
Right.
And especially that taking your brain to the gym metaphor, I'm like, oh man, just like letting it kind of, get its energy out and get yourself centered and kind of back to you. It just gives you a space. And for me, I'm up to like 3 9-minute ones in the morning on the way to work.
She's advanced.
I'm
She's
super
the advanced level.
I'm using the advanced portion of the app, guys. I'm very advanced. But to me, what it feels like is I've started to cultivate this safe space that's in my own self. And so when things outside of me are wild and chaotic, like, all right, well, I'm going to go do an 8-minute meditation and get myself back here.
The reset button.
A reset button. That's beautiful. So next, I would love, Carrie, for you to just share with us, like, kind of when Jesse joined us on the call initially, and you kind of just told us your history, how long you've been a caregiver, and the shifts that happened, very subtle with you and I, but the shifts that maybe happened as a result of that.
Okay. You might have to
I was going to say, can you remember
those again as I go? Because that was a long list.
I will guide you. That's okay.
And if I go too long on one topic,
I'll just like wait or something.
no.
Your
Redirect.
direction.
Yep.
Okay. I care for my husband, Brian. He is currently going to turn 54 in January. And he was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia in 2015. And the behaviors and the things that were happening probably started 2010, 11-ish, probably. It took us at least 3 years to really figure out that it was something that wasn't a phase or something easily treatable. He tried 30 different medications for different reasons. We bounced back and forth between medical doctors and psychiatrists because the medical, he passed every test they did. He just passed everything. And they would push it back to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And in their evaluations, he would pass and they would, send him back and forth. And that happened for a really long time. He finally got to the point where there weren't a lot of treatment options left. And we had been working with a psychologist doing sleep deprivation therapy. One of his symptoms was he didn't sleep at all. And at the time, he was still working full time. And he was sleeping an hour or two a night. And he just looked skeletal and exhausted and miserable. So sleep deprivation therapy, they try to reset your body and your brain. And it's torture for a reason. They, you know, they use sleep deprivation to make people miserable on purpose. So the therapy is really difficult because you have to stay awake for 3 days to start. And then you can only sleep at certain intervals at certain times. And so you have to do things to make yourself stay awake.
But are you essentially doing this therapy as well? Because you're
no. Nope, because the doctor said you and the girls need to get out of the house while he's doing this. It's very difficult to do without being really irritable. Yeah, so we were not. And this was years ago. This was when he was still working and he could, you know, take care of himself. But we got to the end of that. It lasted for several weeks because you do the 3 days and then you add periods of time on to kind of try to build it up. And we were in the psychiatrist or the psychologist's office, and she was listening to us talk about it. And she was kind of silent for a little while. And then she said, I think that you need to go back to your primary care doctor because I've done this for 20 years. And the way that you are reacting to it is not typical to what I see. A person's brain should shut down. Something's wrong because it isn't behaving the way, you know. I don't think you're getting the relief. Usually at this point, people are thanking me and on their way, you know. Yeah. So she was the one who I immediately made an appointment with our family care doctor, and he'd already been with us doing this for well over a year, probably a year and a half. And he said that he had one more idea, and then we would be looking at the Cleveland Clinic or the Mayo Clinic. He had one more local idea, but he was really kind of at the end of who he could send us to. We'd already been to an endocrinologist and, you know, a whole range of other things, brain scans and all of it. And this led us to a psychiatrist whose specialty is brain chemistry. And we treated with him for about a year, and that's where all the 30 medications came in. And at the end of that, they suggested ECT, which is electroshock therapy. Yeah. Which is, it's less controversial now than it used to be, but you know, there are things to look into about it and all that. But given the situation we were in, and we consulted with a couple second opinions, and Brian's view on it was, I don't know what else to do. So we did that at Methodist at the time. It was Methodist. And that lasted about 6 weeks, 3 days a week for 6 weeks. He had to be on short-term disability then. He couldn't work doing that. And we got to it was supposed to be the end of it. And they took him back to do it. I went with him, but we had to be there about an hour. The procedure takes about 10 minutes and then they watch you for 45 minutes. And the doctor came out and pulled me into a conference room. And he said, usually at this point, the nurses can tell me about the patient because they chat for 45 minutes, you know, after this is over. And we've been talking about Brian the last few weeks because we know nothing about him. He's very polite. He does whatever anybody asks. He always says thank you. And it doesn't matter what it is that we just did. He always says thank you. But usually we can tell you if somebody's child plays soccer or what their hobbies are, or, you know, there's things that they chat about to make you feel comfortable. And having a conversation is difficult. And he said, I think we need to stop what we're doing. And I think he needs a neuropsychological exam, because I think something he's not, this procedure is extremely effective for some deep depression. And I don't think, because that's what he went into. I left that part out. They went into it with some kind of deep-seated depression, because he, you know, that's what did it. Because we went to a neuropsychologist who did a day-long exam, and she named it FTD right away. Possible FTD, possible. And that's what got us to the neuroscience center at IU and more further evaluations and all that. And that's where we landed. So that was in 2015. He has not worked or driven since then. By the time all that happened, his short term had run out, and he didn't remember. He wrote computer code for a living. That's what he did. And he didn't remember how to do it by the time we got to that, through that last, you know, several months. So he never did. He worked 8 hours a day up until the day they told him for short term he had to go. And then he didn't work again. I always like to repeat that, because he was a very hardworking person. And to have what's happening now happen is so opposite of who he was. So in this has been 4 or 5 years. He just slowly has lost the ability to plan anything. And I don't mean like a party. I mean to go mow the yard, or go put in a load of laundry, or he will do many things if I ask him to.
He does love when Carrie cooks.
And he'll say, oh, okay. You know, a lot of times. Although in the last 6 months or 9 months, there's more of, I don't know, or I don't think so. So it's a slowing, it's like a wind-up toy, you know, sort of, that's kind of running out of goal-directed behavior.
Sure.
So I found myself in a place where Brian can dress himself, and he, you know, brushes teeth and takes a shower and all that stuff. Although often it might go several days without a shower, and I'll say, did you take a shower today? And he'll say, no. Did you take one yesterday? I don't know. So, well, how about you go up and take one? And he does.
Yeah.
You know, I imagine all that'll, you know, in the next year or two will slow down too, but for now, all that part is okay. But what I'm saying is, a lot of the supports that are out there are for people with more severe physical problems, or where their cognitive problems make them unsafe. You know, one of the, I guess it's a blessing, I guess, of this kind of apathetic version of a dementia is he can't plan anything to do anything unsafe. I mean, you know, I have friends in my support group whose loved one wants to use power tools and stuff like that. And it becomes a point of conflict, because to separate someone from the things they're used to doing or think they can do is really difficult. I don't have that. A lot of this is more in the heart of what gives a person a good quality of life.
Absolutely.
Because he seems content just sitting, you know, but that's not good for his brain, and it's really not good for his heart. He just doesn't, and I don't mean his physical heart, I mean like his soul, you know, but it's also agitating to get him out and have him be somewhere or move. And he was very upset with the idea of going to daycare, even for a couple afternoons. I was looking into doing it so he could have some physical therapy and some just motion away from home, because I work full time And,
Right.
you know, where I'm 54, just like he is, I have a lot of years left to work. And right before COVID hit, I had him somewhere touring, and I had my brother there to give it a look and all that, trying to figure out what might work. And the week that the state shut down was the week I was supposed to meet with them for the third time to try to figure out what to do. So then, I don't know what it was,
I just
Providence or luck or what, but I saw an ad for Christie, and the Lebanon caught my attention because it's near where I live. And the idea, some of the words that were in the ad, because I knew that I was stuck, and I knew that the help that I read about and knew about wasn't quite right. And I didn't know what to do about it, you know? And I also felt like, do I need help? Because
totally.
you know, he's not like doing anything aggressive. He's not a problem at all. Everywhere we go, everybody adores him. He was always steady. He's still steady, you know, thankfully he's, you know, still that way.
Yeah.
But I was about losing my mind. And I didn't know. I say sometimes, you know, I have had a long time to accept that this is true. A long time. Now that I know what it is, I just want to do it well. I want to take care of him well. That, you know, I got handed this, okay, but I don't want to be crappy at it. And I don't want my family to fall apart, and I want my kids to be okay. And I want to be okay. And I want him to be as okay as he can be.
Sure.
But I like the rule book for that. I kept saying, okay, so when do you get the binder of like, you know, how this is going to go?
Yeah, for sure.
I finally got the binder, and guess who gave it to me?
At her house, guys. This is casual. She's close.
So I saw Christie's ad, and there was like an hour kind of little webinar thing that you could sign up for. So I did, and I watched it for an hour, and then there was a week-long kind of series of classes you could do, and I signed up. And lucky me, I had her all to myself for the week that I signed up. Yeah.
I joke that was
VIP treatment.
Yeah,
there.
that's a VIP. No one's getting that deal again, Carrie. All
What?
right?
I didn't hear that.
No one's getting that deal again.
Oh, okay, right. I was not promised a coupon for this.
Right? Amen. I'll get you that. And that was just a quick little interjection. That was the best possible thing to happen to me. And I don't know if you know this, but the night before that program was to start, I was ready to postpone it or cancel it because I didn't have anybody sign up.
Oh.
And then I woke up and I saw your name in my email, and I was like,
Oh.
It's happening.
I was like, okay, and here we go. We're gonna do it really, really well because I'm similar. We learned a lot about each other during our time together, and we are the same a little bit.
Yeah.
So you are who you know what they say, like when you're starting a business that you need like your avatar or who you're talking to. I was talking to you before I knew you existed, and then you appeared.
Well, I was looking for you before I knew you existed, and you appeared. The thing that got me really in the ad and in the webinar, I think maybe it was in the webinar when this part came out, I'm not sure. It was, you will have actionable things to do when we're done. This isn't reading another self-help book, because I have many of them.
Same.
You know, they're good. I'm not.
Yeah.
Love self-help books. It's not about that. But when you're the person doing all the things, it's not just the relationship that becomes a checklist, everything does. Yeah. And when you're parenting and you're taking care of the house and
working
and working all of it, it's so where's the, you know, Saturday that you're going to give to like figuring out priorities or whatever, you know, it becomes just putting out fires. And the whole insurance, disability, Social Security, all of that
could be a full-time
that's
job.
a whole different show because the list of people that I now add my consultant to, that's you. It took us 4 lawyers, and not because they were bad. The 4 lawyers all had a different specialty, and I needed all of them, which blows my mind. And if 5 years ago, Carrie, if you would have told her all these things, she would have just quit already, you know, but it's just one at a time, you kind of figure things out.
Yeah. And one of the resources that I actually connected Carrie to is the Memory Compass. We've also recently met.
Love.
And I remember that first night that we did kind of like our kickoff call together.
Mm-hmm.
And James is watching, so he knows this is true, that I got off that call with you and I was like, oh, I've never heard a situation like that before. I've heard 4,400, y'all. Mm-hmm. So when I was like, oh man.
What was the situation that was so unique to you?
Just because that you had been doing it for so long, and he is so young and you are so young, and just all of the dynamics of it, I had never heard that specific scenario. Mm-hmm. And so when I went, I just, you know, I sleep on everything. I do not need sleep deprivation therapy. I'll never sign me up for that. But I woke up and I was like, that's not why she needs me. Yes, to connect you to the resources. And I woke up knowing the Memory Compass was the very next best step for you. Mm-hmm. But then I got to work on you and create space for you to work on you. Mm-hmm. And that is like my number one biggest goal in this life, is to create spaces for people to feel safe, to feel empowered, to feel encouraged, and to know that they can do this, because they can, because you can, if you have those tools to help you. Mm-hmm. So I just love all of it.
I actually think the things that you're talking about are having a sick person, being a caregiver, magnifies them. But a lot of what you're talking about, because I'm a woman, I can speak in particular probably to women, and I'm a mother, and I have elderly parents that are part of the mix and all of that too. Everybody has their, like, you know, life around them or whatever. I don't think I was good at creating that kind of space before, and probably would have been better off had I been.
Sure.
Probably. This made it lots more, you know, just magnified it. But the habits weren't there. You know, had I had them, maybe some of those habits would have kicked in, but I really didn't.
Well, and it's hard when you're going and you flip through the hustle and bustle to like you said, when would you create space? Amber and I were talking about this before, that we need, like, she called it a power hour, but then she said something about 6 hours. So I don't know what she's trying to rope me into, but you really have to be so intentional.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, we're going to Starbucks and we're not going to answer our phones, and we are going to create this space for ourselves so that we can, in our world, impact more people, create a plan to reach more people. Like, that doesn't just happen.
Right. Well, even on a personal level, to your point, what happened to my Saturday where I can sleep in and enjoy a cup of coffee and read my favorite magazine and take a shower?
When you read,
disappears.
Mm-hmm. I've done a lot of reading about sleep deprivation, obviously.
Right.
And what happens to a person.
Oh, yeah.
There's no joke. And we can't function like that. Your brain actually has to go in rest mode. That's why the things you wake up in the night, or you think of it in the shower. I mean, like, that's a stereotype and like a thing for a reason, because your brain had to, like, and then it makes connections and it's doing its work while you're not paying attention. And then it shoots you a thought and you're like, oh, that's the problem solving thing that I couldn't figure out. It is important. I mean, I'm watching the haywire, what happens when it all goes, haywire. Thankfully, he does sleep now. He sleeps a lot now. It's the opposite now, but in those years, I would have paid money to be able to watch him sleep.
Yeah.
And I did watch him for a while. When it first started, it reminded me of having babies, and they are finally sleeping through the night. And you're like, oh, they're so peaceful and they're not miserable. And, his face looked different because it wasn't so worried, all the time.
Are there any other final things that you would like to share about your experience? We're going to draw the rest of these little.
Yes. You sent me to Jessie at the Memory Compass. She took the baton and has gotten us, it was the perfect matchup. I can only say awesome things about Jessie. We met for every week for 6 weeks, and we have a new plan at home that we're following based on that. We're taking a COVID holiday break here for a little bit, and then we're going to start up again in January, and our goal will be to find somebody to come here a couple of days, probably 3 days a week for a few hours. Eventually I'll have to go back to work.
Sure.
Right now I'm working from home, but that won't stay forever.
I'm so glad. I seriously, I couldn't have, I feel like I did. I feel like I manifested this truly. Like
it was a really, I'm a librarian. One of the things we talk about all the time is the right book for the right person at the right time, because it's different for everyone. That you hand one book to somebody and it means something totally different to somebody else. This was one of those moments when what you could provide and what I needed, they came together at the right time. And the same is true with Jessie too.
I love it.
That's beautiful.
I think you guys have, as somebody who struggled to find, when you get in that spot where you're stuck,
Yeah.
because the system is difficult and we all know it. The medical system, that's no surprise to anybody listening or anybody.
Not perfect at all.
I know. I adore all the doctors who have helped us. I do. The system is not their fault. They struggle with it too. But this one-on-one opportunities and Jessie coming to our home and learning who we were, watching us together, figuring out where our pain points were, helping us see them when maybe I didn't see them all.
Well, you're in it all day, every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear another one.
Okay, girlfriend. Also, while we are pulling another one, you can win a free strategy session like Carrie was just talking about. If you
That's
heard
right.
my video. My friend Indy, who was also watching, shared with me, it's called the Wheel of Names. And so you just like plug everybody's name in that commented, and then it like
Wheel of Fortunes
and makes
you?
a winner. I know this because I won a prize on her Facebook. Roadmap for Elder Care is this one. And that is the binder that you speak of.
Mm-hmm.
And it is truly just, again, nothing that I ever share is like earth shattering. I didn't make it up. It's the things that I've learned over time and witnessed happening time and time again. Like, oh, well, let's fix that so that doesn't keep happening. And this A to Z guide is walking you from home, either with your spouse or alone, and then like the safety things to keep you home safe, all the way through end of life planning. So it's just kind of you flip through it. It's just a roadmap to kind of give you some ideas and get your thought juices.
The binder is a tangible thing, and people think in different ways. Some people listen, some people read, all that stuff. For me, because I'm a book person, I'm a librarian, I want the paper.
Yeah.
I don't want computer files. No, I'm an old librarian, but that tangible thing and a place to put it and keep it organized and go back to it and reorganize it again or think about it again, it helps.
For sure.
Well, and your priorities now may be different 5 years from now or 5 years ago. So it's nice to have something to kind of revisit.
Because things cycle and something will wane and then it'll be a thing again. And then it'll wane. And it is, I do compare it a lot to raising small children when you think you have it figured out and then they change again. And you're like, no, I just figured this out. Yes.
All right. I feel like we haven't had a green one yet.
You know, green one, what's it say?
Okay, this is our 4th caregiving key. Encouragement and support.
And on the back of that, I wrote us here.
Yeah.
That's what we're for.
Yes.
And there is a private Facebook group. It's called Ignite Your Inner Caregiver. It's very small. There's only like 7 of us in there right now.
But it's growing.
But it's growing and we're getting there. But that is an ongoing safe space. So I pop in there and share my meditations and share just things that I'm personally developing and growing and hopes that it helps others.
Yeah, it's important to have a safe space that you can be vulnerable and know that you won't be judged.
Yeah, no, judgment free. It's like Planet Fitness, but like not trying to work out with a mask. So.
Yeah, we clearly don't like working out.
No.
But we like to work out our brains.
Yes. Okay, I'll go. Let's see. Gosh, we got a lot of.
I know, do you want to hold it?
Yes, thank you. This one is resources. And I have 3 things written on the back: disease specific, community specific, and then your circle or your church or your support system. And these are things that I obviously can always help people clarify or get connected to, but those 3 areas are crucial. And if you're here in the Indianapolis area, we have so many. We have so many resources. Yeah,
So many.
so many. We've got one here.
Here I am.
Here I
I
am.
have arrived.
I pulled one other one, and it is boundaries. And I drew
Cool, buddy.
a box around you because for you, for others, to protect your energy and to show up better for others. Carrie and I talked a lot about micro promises, and I could talk about micro promises for a whole
I was
hour.
gonna say, give me a quick snippet.
Okay, so it is, I've done like 3 each month and they're compounding. So like, for example, I'm journaling now. And my
proud of
journaling
you.
micro promise, thank you. My journaling micro promise is tucked in after moving my body.
Yeah.
And kind of like what you were saying when you're in the shower or you're sleeping and your thing comes to you. When I'm moving my body, it's normally a very slow yoga stretch. Nothing crazy.
A walk from the couch to the
walk.
fridge.
But those, like, and knowing now that that's become a micro promised practice for me, my brain almost knows now, hey, we've done some movement meditation or we've moved our body. Now we need to journal. And it's never really, anything fancy, but for me, knowing that I'm starting to like fulfill those micro promises, it's building up self-trust. And then I trust the things that I want to do or want to share or that kind of thing. So you just like compound them.
I feel like it leads to what? Self-confidence
Yes.
and self-esteem.
Yeah,
And
I do a lot of like self-talk
empowerment.
and like a new one that I've done. This is very vulnerable. So you're all gonna be like, why is she telling us this? But it's to tell myself one nice thing in the shower. Tell me when you're more vulnerable.
That's true.
Butt naked. And so it really forces you to tell yourself something kind and then just let it go. I don't need to challenge it. I don't need to judge it. I don't need to like talk it out of being true or false. It's just really starting to like feel myself a little bit.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So you could just start that.
I should start that one.
Go ahead.
Ooh, I get one.
Yeah, girl.
Okay, here we go.
Also, we're sorry that we don't have champagne, but we do have matcha.
We do have
from
tea.
Starbucks. This is like kind of the same thing.
Okay.
Tell me.
Our next one is you time.
You time.
This could be your woo-woo, self-care, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want. So I literally wrote start with 3 minutes a day. You can do it. Another app that I love, it's called I Am. And it's 4 affirmations. And so they just pop up randomly throughout your day as notifications. And even when you don't say them out loud, you just say them subconsciously in your head. They are so impactful. And my favorite one lately is that I can do hard things. I totally can.
Absolutely.
I totally can. Okay, let's go.
I feel like we should post these apps in a comment
Oh,
later
yes.
on so
Yes.
that they're easy for everyone to find.
We can do that. So smart. So why she's here.
Haha. Okay, here's the next one. Holistic health.
Whole, like your whole thing. So what I mean by that, spiritual, physical, mental. So 3 little metaphors that I put here are a tire spoke was one that I've recently heard, and how like getting back to our center, we have all of these spokes. So kind of like you were saying, Carrie, you've got your job and your kids and your all of the things, and you get like 3/4 of the way down the spoke on some of them, and then you get pulled to the next spoke. And you get halfway down or 3/4 down the next one, and you hop to the next spoke. And it's all about creating space. I keep talking about this, but creating space to be able to tap into all of those areas so that you are able to fulfill the spoke. Or maybe you don't want to do that spoke anymore, and we can take it out. So really just the whole picture and how we can show up for people is what I mean by the holistic health, making sure your physical and your spiritual and your mental health is being taken care of, or that you're being intentional about that. I'll say, I'm going to keep this one for a minute.
Okay. You want to pull the next one?
Sure. This one says community. So senior centers, the Facebook page, the Ignite Your Inner Caregiver Facebook group, the disease specific resources, a lot of them have their own support groups. So there are so many things within our local community, within the disease specific community, so many resources, but making sure that you have a community. A lot of people like to lean on maybe a faith-based community in this time too. So really just making sure you have that around you is important.
Well, I know Indy specific, there are some grocery stores and Connor Prairie and a couple other places who have been doing memory cafes. So they'll change their business model to let in families who are caring for someone with dementia or Alzheimer's, so that they have a comfortable space to go out and be in public. And if behaviors happen, we're all understanding. And so those memory cafes are really cool part of the community too.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that. End of life planning doesn't have to be scary or taboo. So again, I could literally spend a whole hour probably just talking about this.
I think that needs to be like in a neon sign.
Yeah, because, so first of all, end of life doulas are a thing. So like a midwife or a birthing doula, they have those. They exist for end of life. Amazing. We have some here in Indianapolis. But the biggest thing that I want people to hear from this is we should plan our celebration of life to save our loved ones the guesswork during grief. People think that like we don't need to talk about that or that it's taboo. Update, we're all going. And I specifically want a celebration of the things that were important to me and the legacy that I'm leaving behind. Not for my family to be like, oh God, what do you think we should do? And then they're grieving and it's like this whole thing. So really talking about that, and I'm happy to help folks navigate that conversation if that's something that they need help with, but it is crucial and it is not too early.
Well, I think end of life too, even being the last 15, 20 years of your life. I know I'm talking with my parents about, do you want home care? Do you want assisted living?
Yep.
Obviously that may change multiple times over the next couple of years.
So at least you have like some guidelines.
Then I have some guidelines and I can say, hey, talk with your financial planner so that we all have this prepared out. I mean, it's a domino effect.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are scared and they think it's a taboo conversation.
Yeah.
We think nothing of it, but we
work
look at it every single day. So.
Yeah. And a metaphor that I heard that's super impactful that has really stuck with me is that what do we do? And Carrie, talking about babies, like what do we do when someone's pregnant or bringing a baby into the world? We are like, oh my gosh, you need to be
here's
nested,
all the checklists
and here's all the things, and let's get you everything you need to be comfortable. So why are we not doing that same thing for folks at the end of their life? We should be, and we can start not too soon.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that key.
Thanks for that key.
I like it.
Intentional. We're wrapping these up, folks, so hang in there with us. So intention for, so this was something, back up. This was something that I hear a lot of like meditations say or yoga classes say, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like,
be intentional about what?
What do you mean?
How do you want me to do this?
And so what I've learned recently is, like for me in the morning, peace is something that I'm forever striving for, and I want that for myself. I want that for others. And so like this morning, I knew that this day was a joyful day. And so when things are happening to me in my day that are not joyful, that helps me remember, where can we find the joy? Where can we find a joyful moment in this not so joyful moment? So I wrote, set one for your day, for your week, for your meeting, for your Facebook Live, for your whatever, and just be intentional.
Yeah, no one likes to walk into a meeting not knowing what the meeting's about. So
Right.
don't go into your day without knowing what your day is about.
Guys, you can't buy this type of love. She's amazing. She's so good. Okay. Thoughts is the next one. And training them to work for us, not against us. I said this earlier, but the law of attraction and manifesting our desired outcome. I literally prayed and thought and focused on what I envisioned Carrie being, and she's real, folks. She's here. She's on Facebook. So it's real.
She's not made up.
She's not made up. She's real. Okay, I'm gonna do this one. You can do the last one.
Ooh.
Okay, this one is awareness. And because I just like to sneak extra things in, I added alignment and action. I think that they are truly like the 3 biggest keys to success. If you can feel an alignment, you can be aware of what alignment feels like, and you can take action if you don't feel aligned. Game changer. You have to spend some time creating space to figure out what alignment looks like. But that's a good journal prompt. What does aligned feel like to me? Got that down. And then you can work towards getting there.
Well, I think that goes back to your whole tire spoke imagery of, okay, I feel like I've got it today when it comes to my household, but maybe spiritually I'm lacking. So how do I realign myself?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I
That's
like
a
it.
good perspective.
Okay, last one. Are you guys ready? Saddle up. Our last one is self-care isn't selfish and you are worthy.
I love that. And I
I want to
added,
say it again.
yeah, do it.
Self-care isn't selfish and you are worthy.
So you are worthy, or I am worthy, is probably my next tattoo. And I have felt so passionately about that because that is probably my deepest limiting belief. So it's what holds me back. It's what keeps me from doing things that I would maybe really want to do or know people need to hear. And that subtle voice in the back of my head says, well, why would they listen to you? You're not worthy of that. You're not worthy of success, all of these things. But we so are. And we are worthy of them, like right now in this moment. If greatness and goodness came to us right now, which it does all of the time, but something super crazy, we would be worthy of it.
Absolutely.
Just how we are. And so that's a huge one for me that I think a lot of times people don't do self-care because they don't feel worthy of caring for themselves.
Well, and I think going back to the selfish part, just because I think a lot of people think I'm caring for my loved one and I need to give them all of my attention. And when I take an hour to myself to do self-care, then you feel guilty for doing it because during that time you could have been doing something for your loved one. And so I think it's
Absolutely.
that selfish aspect needs to be
It's definitely like
rewritten.
Rewritten is perfect. I was just gonna say, it's like, it has to be intentionally reframed
Mm-hmm.
to know that if I do this 1 hour, my loved one's experience is going to be tremendously better than if I would have just kept running the rat race and not done anything for myself. It's super hard to like just preach that and say that, but that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Start small, start with 5 minutes or 10 minutes. But when we are taking care of ourselves, it like repels through us that we are better.
We're worth being at our best.
Yes.
And our loved ones deserve to have us at our best. And so I think that self-care really comes into play for that.
Yeah. In the back of this, I just wrote bath, meditation, yoga, move your body, and affirmations. Those are just some of my favorite ones that I tap into when times get tight. Okay, so we haven't checked anything. I hope that
We have no idea what's going on.
we don't know what's going on. We're having a great time. We're having a great time. Carrie, thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me, Christy.
You're welcome.
It was so nice to meet you.
It was nice to meet you too, Amber.
So appreciate you and your
So
time.
proud of your first year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
She's won.
More people ahead of you
Thank you.
for the next year that are just waiting. They just haven't met you yet.
Well, maybe they're watching live and they're commenting, and I'll get to do a private strategy session with them and change their life.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Was there any other things that we did want to share? CarebyChristie.com, you can go learn all the things. When you go to CarebyChristie.com, a free care keys pops up, and I know we've just switched our 12 tips to 12 keys, but the care keys are really the key vocabulary needed to navigate this space well. So it's just like, we use them all the time, and we just like call things CCRCs and say sniff, and like people think we have a foreign language, but
yeah,
we know what we're talking about. And so I created that just so that folks that are brand new to the space or maybe just starting to be a caregiver can hear those words and have a layman's term definition and be able to like
dictionary.
a dictionary.
Yeah.
What did we say this? A cyclopedia.
Cyclopedia.
A care cyclopedia.
Yeah. This is, the two of us get together and then we just brainstorm everything.
Not even a full hour probably before this, and we were just like cranking out ideas. We have like tons of notebook papers here. Nobody can see. It's fine. Everything's fine.
It's organized chaos is what it is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So I will definitely post in the comments the apps that we talked about.
Yes.
Is there anything else you can think of?
We're just really proud of you.
Thank you,
And we're
guys.
just really excited for you.
I appreciate you.
It's been a good year.
It's been a great year. This is why I can do hard things, because I would not have the things that I envisioned for Care by Christie have come to fruition in ways that I didn't ever imagine that they could. And so it's just amazing to me. I can't wait to keep going. Can't wait to keep growing. I want to help as many people as humanly possible. And we'll get some info in the comments for everybody. I'll get that wheel of names up soon so we can see who the winner was. And if anybody has any questions, you can email me at Christy@CarebyChristie.com. I do have a podcast now. It's called Share the Care. It is on Spotify and Apple, anywhere that you listen to your podcast. Soon, it'll be co-hosted.
Sorry.
We have a cat.
We have a special guest appearance. Like going between our feet and playing with things.
God love her.
So anyway.
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Carrie, again. I so appreciate you. I'm sure I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.